My presentation is going to be somewhat different. Since I very recently joined the staff, I was asked to give one of these talks so that I could introduce myself to the network. And as I was thinking about, how do I do this? What am I supposed to do here? I started thinking about what the volunteers were asked to do, which is to talk about the role of their volunteering in their life, or what it meant for them. So I thought, rather than just sort of giving you my CV, that I should introduce myself in sort of a similar way, in telling you a little bit about the role that volunteering has played in my life, in a very different context than what we've been talking about here. So also I should jump in to say that I realized as I was making my presentation that I was somewhat inspired by Maxim's video. And as I watched his video again, I realized I was probably really inspired. So let's call this an honor and a tribute and not stealing, because I didn't think I was stealing. But I'm going to start by just introducing you to my family. There we are. A very long time ago, my mother, my father, my sisters, my brother, and me, and the baby. Okay, so it doesn't look like such a huge family. But I'll tell you a bit more. My father had 6 brothers and sisters. My mother had 10 brothers and sisters. We don't have a picture of them all together, so here are a few of them. So I have lots and lots of aunts and uncles, which also means I have lots and lots and lots and lots of cousins. Too many to count, actually. So here's some of them. They have no idea they're in this presentation, so. But I'm mostly going to talk today about the biggest part of my family. This is my purple family. So as an American, I've never really done anything quite like the European Voluntary Service. But I have done lots of volunteering in my life. I have volunteered to protect the right to vote in the United States. I've helped build a house. I've taught English to refugees. I've helped immigrant women fight for labor rights. I've led trainings about discrimination and human rights for young people. Together with my partner, I founded and continue to run a human rights education program. I've volunteered in theaters and even been on stage myself. And I've even been a foster mom to a couple of dogs needing a home. I got involved with all of these things mainly because they were things that were following my own interests. And they've all been meaningful and important to me. But it's really the work with my purple family that's been the most meaningful and important to me. So, what is this purple family? And what is this all about? Well, all of us in that photo are people who have been affected by a certain type of cancer. Either some of the people in the picture have been diagnosed with it and suffer from it, or they had somebody in their family who was diagnosed with it. And mostly that means that someone they love has died from it. And this isn't a medical or health lecture, but just to give you a little context. The type of cancer that we're talking about, it's cancer of the pancreas. And I don't know if there's anything you can say is like a good cancer. There's no good cancers. But if there was a good cancer, this isn't it. It usually grows very quietly, and by the time people find out they have it, it's very advanced. There's no test you can do to find it early. There's very few treatments. So most of the people who get diagnosed with it die, and most of them very quickly. So in 2007, we got the first piece of bad news in our family. My brother, Warren, We found out he'd been dosed with pancreatic cancer. His was an absolutely classic case. By the time he was diagnosed, it was really very advanced. He died only about 5 months after he was diagnosed. And then in 2010, my mother was also diagnosed. She died in August 2010, 3 months after diagnosis. So most of you will recognize that. What's that for?
Breast cancer.
Breast cancer, right? Right. So before the pink ribbon, there was the one that started it all, right? AIDS advocacy, the red ribbon for AIDS. Breast cancer patients, and before them, AIDS advocacy groups, they really set a new model for what an active patient community could do. They can fight for doctors and researchers to pay more attention to disease, to a particular disease. They can fight for governments to give more funding for research. Hopefully this research leads to better treatments, leads to a cure. So on one side, this is a really sad story, right? The thing that makes pancreatic cancer different is very few patients are around to fight. But there's another story that is a story of love and hope and passion and commitment. It's that all of these people have families, they have friends, they have doctors and nurses and community members. And these people are fighting for them. These people have taken up the fight for them. So the volunteer work up to now that has been most meaningful for me personally, among all the things I've done, has been my work with this group, which, again, not to go too much off the topic, but to give you a little background, it's called the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. It is a, I should say, if you haven't guessed by now, the color for pancreatic cancer, purple.
What?
So it's a national organization in the United States. It's represented in all 50 US states, has volunteer chapters in many, many cities, at least one per state. Many big states have many chapters. Some in smaller cities. We have some really big events that we do. We do some fundraising walks. We call them Purple Stride. Purple. They're held at cities all over the US around the year. As a volunteer, I've helped to organize these, I've helped to plan them, I've promoted them, I've got up at 5 a.m. to work at them. We also do an event that's called Purple Light. This is to remember the people that we've lost. One night every year, we all in our own cities gather in front of hopefully some well-known landmark. And we use this as a moment to remember people. And we read the names of people who are lost. And with every name, those light sticks, we break open a purple light stick. So little by little, the night is illuminated purple. It's nice if you have a nice image afterwards. It makes for great visibility afterwards. And once a year, we get volunteers from every state in the US to go to Washington, D.C. on the same day in June. We go for 2 days. We visit the offices of all 100 US senators and hundreds of representatives in the other House of Congress. We tell our personal stories, and we fight to get money for research. And we've had some really good successes so far. We've gotten more attention focused on the disease. We've even gotten some more money for research. We still have a lot more work to do, and so we keep going. So our goal is to make this ribbon as recognizable as the other two. So I should say that for me as an activist, one of the things that really motivates me in whatever kind of work I'm doing is creative advocacy. That's what really gets me going. And so that's something that has attached me to the work that they do, because creative advocacy is what helps you, when you're small, to amplify your voice. Right. And also for all of us volunteers in this particular organization is very personal, right? And even though it's comparatively small in numbers, I won't go into numbers, but it's actually a very small number of people that get diagnosed with this in a country the size of the US. So we're small, we're isolated, but somehow we've managed to become a family. We call each other family. We've gotten to know each other at events around the country, and we visit each other's events around the country. I started out by volunteering in the fundraising walk in my city. I'm in there somewhere. Then I started going to Advocacy Day in Washington, D.C., which I've attended now 5 times, usually with my sister. The first year, I didn't realize I was supposed to wear purple. 1 year, I volunteered in these purple strides in 5 different walks in 4 different states, and I walked in 1 other, all in 1 year. And it's all because now I'm part of that big purple family. I've been living in Budapest for most of 13 years. When my mother got sick, I spent some time in the US. And after everything was dealt with, I was very, very happy to get back to Budapest. This, for me, is home. The only hard thing was having to step back from my purple family. So I do what I can to stay connected. If there's an online campaign, I find a way to participate. I got a few friends together to have the first ever unofficial Purple Light in Budapest. I even managed to time my last visit back to the US for another visit to Congress. So now, if you see me wearing purple, and you will, you'll know why. So that's a bit of insight into me and something that's important to me. But so why did I choose to introduce myself to you with this story, which is so not really connected with what you do and what we do as a network? It's because, I've been a lot of things in my life, and I've done a lot of things in my life. I've worked in legal advocacy, I've done preparing seminars, I've written reports, but what really gets me going is the stuff that happens outside of that formal work. That formal work is important, it has to be done, but it's that stuff outside that really connects me to the work, and I can see even already that it's what connects a lot of the people in this room to the work. Right? Roma, non-Roma, volunteers, former volunteers, that's the connection. So far, like I said, in the short time I've been with RGDTS-Phiren Amenca, I have already seen how this is working in the network. I've heard again and again how important and how meaningful the activities have been for the participants. For example, to people to make connections across nationalities, across ethnicities, across borders. And I've seen the impact that can happen from working together. Individually, we might be small, but working together, we can really be powerful. And what makes us strong is what connects us. And I've been so moved by the stories that I've heard about young Roma from different countries visiting some of our big events. And that moment when they instantly feel how they're connected to people that they've never seen before, they've never been to their country before, just because they share a reality as Roma. They share a reality together. And that's really, really powerful, and it's important that we keep that foremost in our minds. And I also have seen how our volunteers and our former volunteers, again, Roma and non-Roma, they become a community too. And just like I have my purple family, it's really inspiring for me to see all the former volunteers that have remained enthusiastic and connected to the work. I think that's a very powerful testament to the work that has been done. The fact that people leave their year of service and they still want to stay involved and they still find ways to keep engaged in the work. So these are my observations in less than a month in the office, and I I want you to know that that's really visible. And I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's these connections that make our reach as a network strong. And so I will just close by saying that I'm really looking forward to getting to know all of you, to be working together with you in the next months and years to come. And my wish for the future is that you'll all feel that kind of connection among each other, a sense of belonging, not just as individuals to work, but also to the network. So thank you for welcoming me to the network, and I look forward to working with you more.